Hi guys! Holy shit, Brassy! Dang. What? What the hell? Like,
I had some downtime during the intro.
like seconds.
Yeah, that's what happened.
We
Blame the
we were
sky.
all talking before the episode. We had the intro, which is like a minute and 30 seconds. Brass dives. Like, just goes down on the floor and then comes up transformed.
Yeah.
That's part of my topic.
That's part of the thing. That's part of the transformations. Look at that! What an incredible lead in to one of your things. Before I take that bait, before we jump straight into all of the movies, how are you guys? You guys doing okay?
Yes. While Brass was transforming during the break, I was trying to smuggle into my body more of this delicious brownie that I bought, and that's why I was not as verbose a moment ago. It's a very thick brownie, and it was fighting its way down.
Oh, nice,
It didn't want to go, and absolutely delicious. So I won't say where I got it from, but they've been in a lot of trouble for dictating who should love who, but they all do delicious chicken sandwiches.
Oh, right.
I
They brought back brownies, and I couldn't be helped.
get that.
Yeah, so, we all deal with monsters in our own way.
That is very real. That is very real.
Not a lie.
Oh man. So yeah, it's the final week, it's the final episode. This has been a really good time. I love
really have
talking.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love talking movies with you too, and
We're kind of good at it.
yeah, we are getting good at this. So
Yeah.
maybe Thanksgiving. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But
We should
I
show
do.
Don't for Thanksgiving.
What?
Don't. You've seen the Grindhouse.
With,
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
There are all these fake trailers, and one of them is for a Thanksgiving-themed horror film called Don't. And
it was by the guy who
enjoyed
did
it.
Shaun of the Dead. What's his
All
name?
right.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's true. But yeah, we can screen that for Thanksgiving, maybe.
I feel like there's a few other like horror movies that are Thanksgiving themed too, like
There
with
would
killer
have to.
turkeys or some such thing.
Yeah.
Or we could just explore the legacy of the Plymouth settlement.
Yeah.
You know, and
The actual horrors that came from Thanksgiving. Yeah.
big plans for Halloween.
No, I did all my important stuff. I went to a couple of drive-ins and saw a few movies. I would like to. I haven't seen The Lost Boys at a drive-in, but it's kind of like my Bigfoot. I just keep missing it, and that's one that I would love to see at a drive-in. Ooh, that's rare.
My Bigfoot.
Yes, the
Yeah.
actual Bigfoot. Yeah. And but yeah, I got to see Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice, Hellraiser 3, I think. They kind of blend together. The one that one of them had compact discs that shot out of them. So I'm pretty sure that's 3. And yeah, so I wasn't paying a lot of attention. It was the second one.
DVDRs.
Double feature, yeah, so it's been a good Halloween so far. Very eventful.
How about you, Brassy?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I'm gonna dress up like this and hang out in the kitchen.
There you go. That's celebration. Yeah, we've got. We live in suburbia, and I have a lawn, and so I've decorated the lawn with tombstones and a large spider. Yeah, a spider web with a giant spider attack and a baby wrapped as if it's about to be eaten. So far, only one person has kind of like dark humor, huh? I'm like, yeah. Still, just one is good.
Yeah.
One is pretty solid.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah,
is
that's
great,
good. That's
actually.
good. Like no housing folks, no neighbors like knocking
Right.
at the door, nothing like that. So I'm pretty safe, and it's pretty gaudy out there. By the way, like I've got purple lights and tombstones and ghosts. Like
Now, are you the only people in the neighborhood doing it?
Yes. Like I mean there's people with some decorations in their lawn on like this street in particular. There's some people with decorations on their lawn, but like we are the sore thumb of our street. Yeah, it's but for actual Halloween I'm gonna put some candy on a rope with just clip it with
Like a
clothespins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, with clothespins, so that should any child have decided that they were going to try and do this,
Yeah.
they can do it, just not near me.
At first, it sounded like an elaborate trap. I'm going to put some candy on little ropes.
Yeah, like a Rube Goldberg of children traps.
My wife was like, we were trying to say like, how are we going to get candy to kids if we're going to do that? And my wife was just like, oh, a catapult. And I have to like, okay, number one, yeah, but also like, don't you think that I haven't thought about that? If that were imminently plausible,
Yeah.
do you not think that we would already have a catapult? Like, please be reasonable.
If the kids are somehow made aware that there is a candy catapult, fine. Otherwise, it's disaster.
Targeting,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
stand in the street, see how it goes. Who knows like how far it goes? What if it's just a limp catapult that just goes like that shoots it into the ground?
Or far too powerful.
Or far too powerful. Yes, exactly. You brain a child with a bag of peanut M&Ms.
Yeah. And a
Yeah.
lot of it does depend on the candy choice. Gobstoppers is not the way to go.
No. So yeah, so those are the Halloween plans. Cool. Well,
I normally am at Magic Castle on Halloween, so I'm gonna soak.
I know, Brass. I know you've had some epic Halloweens. Oh, well, don't sulk, because I think it's you brought up transformations. You transformed before our eyes, and you brought into this conversation and into tonight one of the weirdest, most disturbing movies we've talked about this entire time. Like, I had forgotten about this movie, and then I was just like, "Oh, Natasha Kinski, awesome! I love me some Natasha Kinski. Very, very like manic pixie, Fairuza Balk kind of like darky gothy look." And then this movie comes along, and you're just like, Jesus Christ. So the movie we're talking about is Cat People. And you brought this in, Natasha Kinski, John Hurd, Malcolm McDowell. And I want to just point out that in this poster it says, they are something more than lovers who are about to become something less than human.
So incest is a huge concept in this film.
Yeah.
And the only thing that kind of softens the blow of that is that Malcolm McDowell doesn't look like Natasha Kinski, so you don't get a gross feeling in the back of your throat about it. But when you look back at like Egyptian, the royalty of Egyptian practice, it was brothers and sisters.
Sure, and they were all into cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, deeply entrenched in the cat lore.
All right. Well, before we get into cat lore and too much incest,
Oh God!
all right, let's watch the trailer and try to not crawl out of our skin.
David Bowie.
All right, here we go.
whole body burns. Make love with me.
I'm not like you.
You can't escape the nightmare without me, and I can't escape without you.
I'm not like you!
There is so
Award-winning crew of production people behind this film. Like the DP, the cinematographer, the writer, the director, and all the special effects people are really huge. And will go on to do major favorite films of ours. But wow, this one is pretty hard to take.
It's a lot to unpack. How much incest do you have to have for them to bring the National Guard in to stop you? Holy shit. That is a lot of incest you're having. And loud.
Yeah.
So let's first off, I just want to give a shout out to Natasha Kinski, who is absolutely beautiful. And in this movie, like in the first movie that we talked about with the space vampires, this movie uses nudity and sexuality, like her nudity in particular, to disarm you as to the real dangers that are kind of going on or that are about to happen. So, and I think we see that with nudity in most horror films, that you're just like, oh, my brain is going to go to boobies, and then they hit you with something.
Yeah. And also, it made you, as a guy, it made you cast a few less stones at Malcolm McDowell. Because you're like, look, if she was part of my family tree, I'd be looking for a loophole too.
Malcolm McDowell was 39 years old during the filming of this.
Oh, really?
He was 39.
He ages hard then.
That British DNA.
He looked 55.
Oh.
There he is.
Yeah.
So I want to mention right off the bat, the special effects makeup in this film. This is 1982. In 1983, a lot of these people will go on to do Thriller.
Oh, well, then that makes sense with these eyes, huh?
And the transformation scenes when they actually turn into Black Panthers. I was like, oh, that's very Thriller-esque. This was before Thriller. No.
Not that specific shot.
The saddest
some of the people who worked on The Thing that I keep talking about, it's my number one favorite movie of all time. The Thing with Russell Jackson, with Kurt Jackson. You know who I'm talking about.
Kurt Jackson Russell.
I got baseball on the mind.
David Keith and Keith David.
It's an intense production. And where was this filmed? What better city to tell a weird ass story than New Orleans?
I was gonna say New Orleans. You got the snakes. You got the whole. Yeah. And who was the director on this?
His name is John Bailey. He would go on to do The Big Chill, Silverado, one of my major favorites.
Great movie.
My Blue Heaven, Ordinary People, and Groundhog Day.
What?
The director of Cat People went on to do those things.
So he went from this
to
Groundhog Day?
He sure did.
Wow.
He directed Groundhog Day?
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the DP. Sorry. God damn it. Everybody. No, the DP did.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he didn't direct the
Okay, no. I'm sorry. He's over here.
Oh man.
Paul Schrader. Paul Schrader is the director of American Gigolo.
That makes more sense.
Autofocus. Remember that one? Autofocus.
Sure. That is a disturbing enough thing. I believe that. Yeah.
And The Exorcist #3.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is that the one with incest?
no, it's,
I'm joking. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was like, wow, my wheels are spinning. And then the most recent thing of note that he did, I think it was Oscar nominated, was First Reform with Ethan Hawke.
Huh.
Firstborn?
First Reform. It's about a priest.
Okay.
That's the director, Paul Schrader.
Got it. Well, okay. So Brass. So mixing up directors and DPs and leaving me thinking that, wait a minute, the same director as Groundhog Day? Like they went from this to Groundhog Day? It was kind of a little bit of a shock, I have to say.
I'd
No,
almost
sorry,
guarantee Harold Ramis did Groundhog
Yeah,
Day.
that's what I was gonna say. I was just like, I thought Harold Ramis, and then I was just like, really? Like Harold Ramis directed Cat People.
Sorry. Yeah, well, we all get one. No, yeah, I write all those notes up here, and then I do all the special effects down here. I mixed it up. Sorry.
All good. So okay. So why'd you? So you picked this one because it was animal transformations. I feel like one of the ongoing themes in sort of the lichen, where things. I say where things because there's werewolves and there's where other man beasts. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these themes is like, are they acting like this because they're an animal, or are they acting like this because they're into their sibling, or they're in or they are beasts,
It's just
right?
an excuse to. Can't help fucking my sister. I'm aware.
Right. Well, these are all extremely valid points to come with it. But in this particular setting of the story, the cats used to be gods.
Got it. So all
At
those
first I thought you
Egyptian
said the cat
themes
used to
that
be
you were
gods.
talking about earlier.
Right. They were gods. And they were worshipped. And they were higher than people.
Got
and
it.
now, X amount of thousands of years later, we're in New Orleans, and we've got
Right, and now those gods are shitting in little sand buckets in people's
Yes.
houses. Got it.
and they're taking morsels of prepared meat out of your hand. The gods react poorly to being caged. So who is the animal? Who is the monster? It's actually, well, that's pretty gross. But man is the monster, and the cat are the gods. Still in New Orleans in 1982.
Got it.
You get that interplay of whose rules are there
In between, and what I didn't realize, and I saw it it only dawned on me during the preview, was that this was in fact advertised as a sexual thriller too.
Yeah.
and they're not incorrect.
No, lots of sexy time.
Whoa, dude, the nudity! I swear to God, someone should go in with a time clock and time how long Nastasia is naked in this film, because I think she's naked more than she has costumes on in the film. You know who
All
else
right.
was naked? John Hurd and Malcolm McDowell. It's not fair, is what I'm trying to say. Hey, Ruby Dee.
Oh, they
Ruby
don't.
Dee's in it.
They're not naked in the film, is what you're saying?
Well, all three of them are naked, but not at the same time. Ruby Dee is in this film.
Is she naked?
No, she
Okay.
is 60 years old at the time of this film.
So there's no telling, really. She might be.
Annette O'Toole is naked, and I mean everything at 30 years old. Annette is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Ed Begley Jr. Totally clothed.
Naked?
Totally clothed.
Totally clothed. Okay.
Now,
And
can I just add, in Amazon Women on the Moon, he did a tremendous sketch where he was the Invisible Man. but he was not invisible. It was just a town that kind of humored him and just let him come into the pub every week and act
And
like he
do
was
this?
invisible, and he'd strip down naked and drink people's beer and stuff. It was great.
John Larroquette's in this. New Orleans' own son, John Larroquette.
All right.
Between all these people and Frankie Faison is the.
I mean, so one of the things that I did notice about like all of the movies we picked are like really good ensemble casts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
Um,
You can count all the New Orleans accents in this film on your elbow. It's become a new obsession of mine that this entire universe takes place in New Orleans. Goes into the bayou, into the backwater. Not one frickin' accent in the whole film. I am undone.
all right. So speaking of backwaters, we're going to transition to our next movie because I just like it was so intense, like just finding the images for this previous one and like getting those flashbacks of when I was just like, oh, this movie might be interesting, and all that came with it. Like when I think I've seen this maybe once. And distinctly remember thinking to myself, well, I won't be doing that again. So I'm going to move on to a movie that is fun, I think is the best way to describe it. And it's one that Mike, you chose as your theme, Menaces from Outer Space. Is that right?
Yeah.
And this is your addition to the whole thing, and I love that it's that they're just like, Critters 1 got your blood pumping, but this time,
Yeah. Yeah. We should probably watch the preview.
all right, let's watch the preview. Here we go.
Grover's Bend. It's just a speck on the map of the universe.
Transform.
They get a different class of tourist here.
Company's coming.
Noisier. Pushier. They're turning this peaceful little town into dinner. Critters 2.
I can't hear you. Can anybody out there hear me?
We need a sheriff.
Go check the yellow pages.
Those hungry hairballs from outer space are on a roll.
Let's just get help. Oh, who are we gonna call? Critter Busters? These guys are great.
And they'll eat anything.
We're gonna end up with Mara's leftovers.
There must be hundreds of them.
Critters 2, the main course.
You got nothing to lose but your life.
Critters 2. You know, I didn't realize Maurice from Northern Exposure was I totally had forgotten.
Yeah.
Very
No
important.
Country for Old Men. I'd like to think this is what that sheriff was doing before No Country for Old Men. Man, I gotta say this came out in that wonderful period in the 80s where movies that by all rights should have been going straight to cable and straight to video were still playing in theaters. I am able to proudly say that I saw both Critters 1 and 2 on the big screen in a theater, and it added so much to it to see that big ball of fucking critters on a huge.
Oh yeah, I mean the ball of critters is iconic. Like that that thing is so good.
It's such a Wile E. Coyote type thing to have happen in the movie. that, and I know that idea had to have been shot down at least 10 times because they were like, no, we can't do it. We're not doing it. And then finally someone was like, fuck it, we're going to do it, you know? And that it takes place during Easter and that it's critter eggs that are, I don't know if you caught that, but that's what those kids are like picking up and stuff.
Right.
The first one, it wasn't like there were a lot of leftover questions from the first one. There was no reason to make a sequel other than more money. But I feel like this is another one of those movies that I think would be fun to remake on a bigger budget. Like, I'm really against remaking good movies, but I am all for remaking movies like this that have like a lot of fun trappings to them, but aren't quite what they could be, you know? Like, this had the two bounty hunters. I love both characters. The one who immediately saw a rock star in the first movie and was like, I'm going to be that.
Yeah.
And then the other one that just keeps picking forms because he can't find one that he likes and eventually settles on the Playboy Playmate. And she's actually really good in the movie. She's really like dry and somber and like not what you were expecting, or what I was expecting anyway. And the hokey sort of like wink at the camera sort of jokes that they were doing throughout the film, I thought really made it a lot more fun than it could have been otherwise.
Self-aware.
I picked this over something like Chud that took itself a little bit more seriously, you know.
Yeah, I gotta say, and one of the things, and again, like there's always some standout performances, and you gotta hand it to the to actors, there's and of course there's a soft spot for all of us for actors, but they always come in to some of the weirdest, saddest projects and bring dignity to it, right? And they're just like, you know what? I'm gonna give it my all. I'm either gonna have fun with this, or I'm gonna take this as seriously as I would a Shakespearean play. And I wanted to give a shout out to one of my favorite people on the planet, / one of the incredible performances in this one, which is of course the great and talented Lin Shaye.
Yeah.
And if there is an actress out there who is the doyenne of horror at this point, she is up there with all of the classic gothic spooky folks, except of course she is fun and she is silly. And she brings always an element of kookiness to her stuff. And sure enough, she delivers so well in this one.
Yeah, and just not afraid to make fun of herself and not afraid to have fun with it. Like, probably more than anyone, she got the script. She got what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I would venture to say she might be, other than the leads, the only person that saw the first one. Like before she signed on to do it. But yeah, she added so much color to it. Yeah.
So I did want to show one more picture because it baffles. So this is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Wow.
Who is roughly our age, and there he is being attacked by a critter. And I think more than anything in this picture just kind of shows how impactful the critters were. They laughed at you, and they had sort of that. The 80s were really good at like kid mischief, kids rule, adults drool, kind of thing. And I feel like the critters really had that to them. You have that also in
Gremlins and
Monster Squad, right? Like where the adults are clueless and the kids rule, right?
Yeah, they had a definite appeal in that regard, and I liked that they were just dumb. They didn't try to make them sinister or anything like that. They were just hungry.
Right.
And
Right.
hungry and stupid. And as you get older and get into like the pothead phase of your life, they get even more fun to watch.
Right.
And
Right.
sillier and more charming in their weird sort of way. But a moment in the first one where you see two of them in front of a door of a house that they're trying to invade, and a farmer blows one of them away with a double-barrel shotgun.
Yeah.
And you hear
Classic
the other
scene.
one go, "Nah," like that, and the subtitle just says "fuck."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right. There's some iconic lines in there that are the kind of thing that you take with you as a kid, right? Similar to Wolfman's Got Nards.
Like,
those kind of things where you're just like, yes.
yes.
So yeah. Great choice, Mike. Brass, anything you want to add to Critters 2 before we move on to...
Do yourself a favor and IMDb every single special effects makeup artist on that.
Yeah.
Star Trek, go for it. It's all there.
I gotta say,
Makes sense.
The critters themselves, as you saw in a couple of scenes, the one biting the tire and the one popping the quills, they did some really inventive stuff to up the game from the first one, to make a lot of them had individual personalities that were a lot of fun,
Similar to what they did in Gremlins, right? Because you got you got the personalities in Gremlins
Not
too.
quite
You
as
got
hardcore as Gremlins. There's not a vegetable critter, but a lot of cool stuff. Yeah.
You've seen that Key and Peele.
Oh,
yes,
one of the best
classic,
things I've ever seen.
classic. Okay, so it's a good thing you brought up Star Trek, Brassy, because now we're going into one of my movies. And speaking of actors who try to bring dignity.
Oh, you can't even say it.
Oh
My
man.
movie is Star Wars, and the actor is Alec Guinness.
Oh no. But that's a good example, right? Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee in all of those Hammer films. Let's face it, those Hammer films could have been pretty terrible if it wasn't for those two. So I think horror really depends on great acting to save it. This movie I love because nothing can save it. Nothing can save it. Nothing could save it when it came out. Nothing can save it today. I force this movie on people all the time, and people resent me for it. And
You're saying
I
this couldn't
can't
be remade and made better.
Yeah, I don't know that that's possible actually. Like some things should be left well alone. And this one in particular, it's a source of embarrassment for the studio. The story behind it is unbelievable, like how it came to being, and that is the Night of the Lepus. And let's just take this in for a second. How many eyes does horror have? How many times will terror strike? They were born that tragic moment when science made its great mistake, and now behind the shroud of night they come. A scuttling, shambling horde of creatures destroying all in their path. Stuart Whitman, Janet Leigh, Academy Award winner. Rory Calhoun, Academy Award winner. Night of the Lepus. And I'm just going to stay quiet right now because if you don't know what Night of the Lepus is, if your Latin isn't quite up to snuff and the word lepus doesn't jump out at you, then allow me to do this reveal of Night of the Lepus. So here we go.
What happened that night science made its greatest mistake? What unknown terror was born that night? What is the terrifying mutant that strikes from behind the shroud of night? That night, that night of the Lepus. A night of total terror, more shattering than your strangest nightmare. What caused the unnatural death, destruction, and panic that night of the Lepus? Janet Leigh, Stuart Whitman, Rory Calhoun, and Paul Fix. Night of the Lepus. Kill one, and thousands take their place. What devil creatures growing in weight and size every day are hidden behind the eyes of horror? What can stop them? Night of the Lepus. From MGM.
From MGM.
Yeah.
The studio did not want to reveal what the Lepus was, what the beast was, for as long as possible to try and lure people in. So the trailer is purposely misdirecting people, right? Like
Yeah.
But if you know what the Lepus is, if you know what the monster is, you also see that the trailer is really tongue in cheek, and they're messing with you. So for those of you who haven't figured it out yet, Night of the Lepus is about giant giant killer bunnies. And the story behind how Night of the Lepus came to be, and I don't know if this is real, but the story behind it is that they were reading the script for Night of the Lepers over dinner.
Right.
And they were gonna get rid of it, and they're just like, no, it's too much like Night of the Living Dead. You have people that are crawling with their skin falling off in one, and people crawling with their skin falling off in the other one. And somebody said, "I'm sorry, did you say," like one of the studio heads is just like, "I'm sorry, did you say Night of the Lepus?" And the guy's like, "What?" And he's like Lepus, like Latin for hare or rabbit. And the guy's like, "Oh, that's funny." And went home and kind of pitched it to his daughter, and eventually 2 Academy Award winners, DeForest Kelley, who, by the way, not mentioned in this preview. DeForest Kelley, Dr. McCoy, Bones from Star Trek.
Probably on threat of death. I
So
know what
yeah,
you're talking about me in that stupid movie.
So they interviewed Janet Leigh, who there she is. They interviewed her about this movie, and she said the reason I did it was they were filming it close to home, and I could just I could drive 5 minutes to the set. She's like, I honestly I've tried to forget it. Right. So. One of the things that I love about this movie, other than man meddles with nature, nature goes rogue, is I'm a big fan of kaiju. I'm a big fan of Godzilla, right? Like that's why I'm Alpzilla right now, right? Like I love me some Godzilla. Saturday mornings are Toho film mornings for me. Like I love sitting down before the missus wakes up and just my dog and I and a Godzilla movie. But what this one kind of messes up is even the origin story. So I'm just going to give you guys like a taste of this. The man has fiddled with nature too long. The coyote has been eradicated and the natural predator of rabbits is no longer there. So rabbits are overrunning this rancher's field. What are we going to do about that? Don't use cyanide. Cyanide would actually kill them. Instead, use an experimental steroid. But we got to test the steroid first. We can't just go putting this experimental steroid in all the bunnies. We got to test it first. Janet Leigh is like, but the bunny is so cute, we can't put it to death. So she lets the bunny run out, because she's also a scientist, by the way. And the scientist is just like, I'm just going to release this bunny on steroids. into the wild. So she releases the bunny into the wild. Yeah, right. the bunnies grow to prodigious size and acquire a taste for human flesh. All of the bunnies that you see are actual bunnies that they.
They are the cutest babies. Why does it look like you're having a drunken night out at the bar?
Yeah, right. It looks like they're at the bar, like they're playing drinking games.
Someone's got a little deep on the Campbell soup in there.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's incredible. And they make these sounds, these and then screeching sounds as they attack people. And so for the filming of this, like if you watch it, it's so poorly done. But they use ketchup, smearing ketchup on bunnies, on the faces of bunnies, to David Charles, for crying out loud, buddy.
How come I can't see his chat?
What'd you say?
He's my friend. How come I can't see his chat?
Here we go. This is what David Charles is asking. What does the Lepus have to do with Star Trek? Well, funny, good. You should ask. It is DeForest Kelley, right? So there is. And by the way, DeForest Kelley in this movie is dressed to the nines. Like this outfit in particular does not even begin to show you the one piece suits and the bandanas. Like DeForest Kelley looks really good in this, and
I'm betting somebody kept their wardrobe.
Probably because
you spent the ketchup wardrobe on his costume.
So Night of the Lepus, it's a classic misfire. It's a terrible movie, just critically panned, and also just a riot to watch. As these really like serious Academy Award winning actors try to like convey the terror of these giant rabbits attacking their ranch. So Night of the Lepus was my addition to all of this. Because my theme is nature gone rogue. So Brass, animals attack. Great segue to your next movie, a movie I had totally forgotten about, and it's a French movie. So immediately we know that it's probably an hour too long.
Yeah, a lot of people complain it's too long.
I mean, I feel like French movies just they're like a 3-hour masterpiece, and you're just like,
they insist upon themselves.
They do. That being said, within the scope of these films that are an hour too long, this one has a whole bunch of Frenchness to it, and I love it when we cope with national traumas and with national fascinations in movies. You know, like every time we talk about historical movies, Brassy, you watch me just get all giddy, and this movie has plenty of it. And I'm talking about Le Pacte de Loup, which really the word loup just doesn't really convey as much terror as wolf. I feel like loup is kind of like fruit loop. But anyway, Brotherhood of the Wolf, Monica Bellucci, Vincent Cassel. I mean, this is a solid cast. Who is the director?
I'm going to be very careful about my notes.
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis. So, in fact, this director hasn't done a hell of a lot. His name is Christophe Gans. Mm-hmm. He did Silent Hill.
Oh.
Okay.
That's about all I recognize off his IMDb. He's got a quite short IMDb.
Okay.
But he grew up in France. Huh?
A million times, and I've never seen this movie.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! All right.
A million times I saw that poster, and I was like, no, just never.
No. All right. Let's roll the trailer. And then get into the loops.
1964, after the year of our Lord, when it appeared from the forest of Gévaudan. It was feared no mortal could ever free us from the sharp grip of the beast. And then, at the darkest hour, the king sent two men.
French period action horror film.
French.
Vincent Cassel.
Vincent Cassel.
It's a French period film that is a horror and an action film. There's so much martial arts in it.
There's so much in this movie, right? And I'd forgotten about it. But like
I wish they'd put that on the poster. There's so much martial arts in this.
There are.
That would have gotten me to see it.
So
and the preview, I'd never seen the preview even before.
This was right around the same time as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or like
2001.
The Musketeer, right? You remember that weird movie
yes.
where they yeah, like all of that random kind of stuff. And what they did for the martial arts is they brought this indigenous. He was supposed to be an indigenous American guy, and they made him a master of the martial arts, and that's how they explained all of the martial arts in this movie. Kind of a weird way of doing it.
It's the guy from Iron Chef America.
Yeah, and the Crow TV series.
And the Crow.
And John.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brassy, talk to us about this movie.
This is a true story, based on a true story. It is still an unsolved mystery.
There it is. I found. No,
okay.
but
Everybody's saying
La Bête de Gévaudan, right?
Okay, thank you for saying it, because I didn't know. The beast of the Gévaudan. It killed
Right, this is
100 people over 3 years. 100 people died to it. But no one caught it and presented it. There was no Jaws moment where they're like, we caught the bitch. Here it is. Everybody say your thing. They never caught it. So this movie is an attempt to explain what they think it could have been.
So that rabid wiener dog might still be out there somewhere.
It's like a mole. It's a little mole bowl. This movie has everything. It's got brothels. It's got the Pope. It's got the royal naturalist of Louis XV and his sidekick Iroquois friend. It's got everything.
It's got the French and their damn gazes.
Yeah. Hey, Garrett. Oh, let me tell you. I don't understand myself, but Vincent Cassel affects me.
I wish I would have gotten a better picture. I went for the red costume, and you can't capture the intensity of Vincent Cassel in this.
He's off his rails in this movie. He's off his rails. And that's saying something. Monica Bellucci, ain't nobody mad at that.
Nope.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
she's
not.
Yeah.
That's not her. No.
Was that Leonardo DiCaprio?
Good Lord. The period costume in this.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh. I'll tell you a secret. The beast that they refer to in this show was built in Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
And I have a picture of La Bête.
Oh no! Are you gonna give it away? Don't give it away.
Oh, for Christ's sakes! You know what?
Show him the wiener dog.
Please show him the wiener dog. Show him a wiener dog with like an arrow taped to it. Are you gonna show him? Go ahead and show him the creature effects. It's kind of interesting.
I agree, and honestly, like if you're gonna watch this movie, you're gonna watch it. You already know that this is what we're talking about.
Just so you know, I'm going to watch this movie, whether you show me the creature or not, in this case. So.
All right.
Oh! All right, that's it. That was it. That's all we'll show.
That was much more of a sell for it.
Okay, so you did not give it away. Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot more.
So I'm going to read this carefully. The editor on this film is David Wu, who worked with John Woo and Ronnie Yu on Hard Boiled. He's the editor of Hard Boiled.
Makes sense.
The music director worked on Xena, Hercules, Spartacus, and The Librarians TV series. The cinematographer did Night Watch in 94 and 97, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Mimic with Del Toro, Crimson Fear, Shape of Water. He's going to work on Nightmare Alley, and he did John Wick 2 and 3. This is the cinematographer.
Oh, man. Okay. Dude, I love the John Wick movies.
Yeah. This has a Blade Runner curse on it. There are 3 different cuts. Not one damn person is happy with any of them. There's a UK cut, a French cut, and then there's the director's cut, which is even longer than everything. And the movie's already got complaints about being too long.
7 hours.
Wait, so whose cut is the longest?
The director's cut is the longest.
Yeah, I feel like I saw that one.
Oh. The director grew up loving kung fu movies, and him and his friends would make Super 8 films in the French countryside, kung fu kids, and then he grew up and got to do this. So it's a great taste. It tastes great together. Some critics don't like the amalgamation of horror, action, French period, but it is based on a true story. The legend is.
I'm big on the first 2. I'll
Kung
come
Fu
along for that 3rd one.
Oh, Kung Fu horror is kind of an interesting vibe.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I mean, I didn't make a lot of notes on this, but it is. I'll just say a little fact about it. It is the 2nd highest grossing French language film in America since 1980.
I thought you were going to say 2nd highest grossing Kung Fu French horror film. What could possibly have been the first?
I had to go look at what the top grossing French language film was since.
What was it?
La Cage aux Folles.
Oh, sure. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's all I got. Have at you.
Yeah, so I mean I ultimately like this movie like speaks to a lot of different like French issues. One of the things that I love about this is number one, the French romanticize indigenous peoples in a way that's pretty unique. And if you go to France, you'll see a lot of things like named after Native Americans in a way that's kind of cringeworthy. By the way, Selena24 says, "Brass, you've got me pumped for Brotherhood of the Wolf."
Get into it, man. Watch this with surround sound.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Listen, someone just showed me the opening scene on their at-home movie theater. Just the first scene, I was having problems breathing. It was so good, but I was terrified.
Oh, that's cool.
Sound is so important in this.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
Yeah. So the French, romanticize indigenous people. So this guy was really important. this period in time is always romanticized, right? And that is kind of when the French started that romantic relationship with the indigenous peoples of North America. The French also have a fascination with wolves, right? So this creature right here is part of a long mythology that the French have around wolves. And that's because wolves were a real danger for travelers back in the day. And they're just like the beast of wherever was killing all of these people. It was probably a pack of wolves. It was probably a pack of wolves that just realized that little girls collecting mushrooms in the forest were easy prey. And they attributed it to, our giant cucumber wiener dog here.
Right.
But the French have a fascination with wolves. They have a fascination with indigenous people. They have a fascination with this period, and all of that kind of comes in an action movie with all of these stars. And you can see why it was a really popular film in France. It was a popular film all over the place. And so good choice, Brassy. Like great intro for a bunch of folks.
It reminds me of, what was the movie with Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer where they
Heart of Darkness.
lions?
Heart of Darkness, great movie. No, not Heart of Darkness. No. Ghost in the Darkness. Is that it?
No. Is it?
Ghost in
That sounds closer.
I can't be trusted.
It might be called Groundhog's Day.
2 years. It might have been Harold Ramis. Let's look.
Ghost and the Darkness.
Ghost and the Darkness.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, great movie. Also a great movie, and definitely something to.
That was also a true story.
Yep, the Man-Eaters of Tsavo.
Real life, and they've got those lions on display now, like a museum.
Yep, I think it's either at the. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so sorry, I'm just trying to think about what museum they're displayed at. I want to say it's at the Field Museum in Chicago, but I can't say for sure. So then my brain farted out, and I said, "Okay, let's go."
That's cool.
There you go. Okay, so moving on from a killer wolf to another killer beast. This one in particular, it's also one of my favorite movies of all time. I own on DVD. Very few DVDs do I still own. I own Night of the Lepus on DVD, and I own this one on DVD.
Just those two.
Sorry?
It's just those two.
Just those are the only two films I own on DVD. So this did either of you, by the way, I'm just gonna interrupt with David Charles's question here. Did you guys see The Incubus with John Cassavetes?
I have not.
I have not.
I love John Cassavetes.
He creeps me out. He's got that weird, like, creepy thing going. That
he was an intense artist.
Yeah. No, David, we have not. But we will now look at The Incubus with John Cassavetes. All right. So back to the other movie I own on DVD. So this is another perfect ensemble film. It is actors way above their pay grade, or way below their, I don't know. Actors who are acting the hell out of a very, very goofy film. But this has what Night of the Lepus doesn't have, which is they know it's a goofy film. The script is self-aware. The actors are all having a really good time doing what they're really good at. And it's exciting and it's a little scary from time to time. I'm talking about one of my favorite films of all time, Lake Placid. Oh.
Yeah. Such a good film. So yeah. So Lake Placid has good Bill Pullman, right? We talked about Good Bill and Bad Bill. Good Bill, Bill Pullman. Bad Bill, Bill Paxton. Bill Pullman pulls you into safety. Bill Paxton packs you into a nightmare. Just so people know, Good Bill, Bad Bill. Be packed into a nightmare. Okay, yeah. Oliver Platt too.
Oliver Platt, Natty Gann, you know, who if I anyway, let's watch the trailer before we get too deep into the cast, because it's such a good movie. All right, here we go.
It has existed since prehistoric times. It was worshipped by primitive cultures. It can kill a man with one crushing bite.
We heard a man was bit in half.
Any recent bear attacks?
Bears don't attack people underwater.
Probably a fever then.
What was that?
Whatever's out there, being shot with this, he's dead.
Oh no.
Sheriff, how many deputies you got?
You came here to help you find it.
We can't let him kill it.
Experience a few parts mystery.
Do you have any theories of why he's here?
Honestly, I don't know.
And a few parts missing.
It's a human toe.
Is this the man who was killed? He seemed taller.
Oh my God.
Bill Pullman.
Shoot him! No!
How much of a wacko is this guy? Bridget Fonda.
Mother!
Oliver Platt.
Maybe he swam back up! Maybe not.
I just have this feeling everything's totally safe.
This summer, the Earth's oldest creature has just found a new home.
Go under!
Lake Placid.
All right. Man, that movie, it has...
Genuinely.
Sorry?
It's genuinely a good film.
It's genuinely a good film. Like, it's super exciting. It's super fun to watch. It has an incredible cast, right? Oliver Platt at his Oliver Plattiest, right? Like he is quintessential Oliver Platt in this one. You've got
Brendan Gleeson.
right, exactly.
Iron Zone.
Exactly. I mean, like, and look at I mean, this cast, Bridget Fonda,
Natty Gann.
But don't hold out on the folks at home. Who steals the scene in this movie?
Right. So there is actually a pivotal role in this film is
American Treasure.
Yeah. It is. Sorry, guys. So Garrett Gilhooly is trying to jump on this conversation.
Okay.
It's okay. Oh no! Terrible picture. But this is, in fact, Betty White is probably one of the best parts of this entire movie. And she plays a foul-mouthed old woman. This is the movie that broke us through that broke through the
Golden Girls.
Yeah, exactly. This is when we stopped seeing Betty White as kind of a sweet old lady and more of a saucy old broad. And yeah, I mean, this movie is great. It's got all of the like good things that you want out of a horror film. Good practical effects. I think we can all agree here that practical effects in horror film tend to be a little bit more scary than anything CG, with the possible exception of ghosts and spirits, which are done really well in CG. Oh, here we go. You guys, welcome to the stream to talk a little bit about Lake Placid. A guest from recently... from Colorado, where she was recently, what do you call it when they make you leave your home?
Ejected.
What? Yes, where she was recently ejected, where she was recently evicted from her home. Garrett! Holy smokes, what a treat!
I love that you're doing this, I have to admit.
Oh, thank you.
So
fun.
Garrett, you've seen Lake Placid?
Yes, I have. I have.
Any thoughts? Anything you want to
I
chime in
would
on
like
this?
to add that, like a little known fact that it was created by the same person who did Ally McNeil. So, David E. Kelly, friends. He's brought us some fantastic television and creepy babies. I feel like I'm like channeling my 1997 Garrett. I had butterfly clips in my head.
So Garrett,
yeah.
All things aside, you're in Estes Park.
Yes, I am.
And you guys got evacuated.
Yes, I live in an inferno, apparently.
Yeah, but now it's snowed, so everything's okay?
Yes, but so there is this weird thing that happens. So the snow falls, and as you guys are all from Colorado, you know it's dry and weird. So the snow falls, and it like dampens the fire. But because everything is still very, very much dry underneath it, like the fire like bubbles up. And it looks like geysers. And so we'll probably be evacuated again in about 7 to 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Amazing. Well, this being a conversation about horror films, I think we're all worried about Estes Park's most famous building.
Yeah. Can I send you a picture?
Yeah.
I'm going to send you a picture, I guess, Messenger. I don't know where's the
Yeah. Just drop it in Messenger and we can.
This is like the true contrast of today and the day we were evacuated like it's looking at the Stanley, actually.
Okay, so just so folks know, holy shit. Just so folks know, the Stanley Hotel featured in The Shining, and that's in Estes Park, which is where Garrett's at right now, where Garrett and her whole family were evacuated. By the way, how is the fam?
They're fine.
Great,
They're they're not even in bed yet because what does time mean?
What does time mean? What even is anything?
Nothing matters anymore.
All right, so this is the picture Garrett just sent me.
So those two pictures are taken at the exact same time of day. Those are about 2 in the afternoon. Obviously, the one on the right is the day that we evacuated.
Jesus.
Wow, that's terrifying. It's also kind of cool that the Stanley Hotel is in that red sky kind of thing. Pretty sweet. Also, Broncos colors. So.
Jesus is a Bronco fan. My parents used to live in Grand Lake, and they just moved, and they are very glad they did because they said it was nearly razed to the ground.
Oh my gosh!
But they told me that all the firemen were stationed inside the stand. Is that true?
They are staying right there. The owner there is allowing all the firefighters to stay. So kind of cool for them and definitely cool for us. Grand Lake definitely got it worse. So I'm glad that
their house is still standing, but they left, but it doesn't look good.
Yeah, no, our family had a cabin. Well, it was like a house there, and it's burnt to the ground.
Sorry to hear that.
Gosh, I know. I'm so much fun, guys. Hey, let's go back and talk about your scary movies.
Hey!
Thank you for feeding your friend.
Right, so Brass, you spoiled it, so why don't you tell people what Betty White is doing with this cow?
She's going to feed her friend down at the side of the lake. And he takes a snack this size of a full-grown heifer.
So Betty White, what's interesting is they make there's a lot of like kind of insider jokes in this, and one of them is specifically needling Betty White about how PETA is going to react to the fact that she's feeding the cows. And as we all know, or maybe we don't know, Betty White is a spokesperson for PETA. because I feel like that's kind of like an old people thing, like Bob Barker, Betty White, Moby. I think all of these people, once you reach a certain age, you just kind of become like a big pro PETA kind of person.
Moby's not that old. He just looks like he has progeria.
I think isn't that where you age backwards? Or you?
It is. It's Benjamin Button.
Benjamin Button, that's the one.
He's got Benjamin Button.
I know a lot of babies who I feel are Benjamin Button. Like they look like old men.
Do you tell their parents that?
I did, and the parents took it like in stride. They were just like, Alf is my friend and he means well, which I was grateful. But they look like David Ketchner.
David Ketchner.
Yeah, him, the whammy guy. Yeah, their baby looked like that guy.
Oh dear.
I mean, they're in LA, but like the kid is just like poking his head out. It's an infant, like a newborn infant, and like I'm like whammy, right? Like it was like it was scary. It even had like kind of the bushy eyebrows and the just kind of like very disturbing. Yeah, right.
As a person who has brought babies into this world, I will tell you, they kind of ugly when they come out.
But you lucked out. Your children are really gorgeous.
Well, later they got super cute. That's just so you don't eat them. That's just the rules of nature.
Oh, bless them.
So, can we talk a little bit about Natty Gann in this movie? What's her name? Meredith Selinger.
Yes.
Because I follow her on Twitter now. But she in this movie she ends up dating Oliver Platt. In real life, she's married to Patton Oswalt.
Yes.
If I had known this about Natty Gann, I would have shot my shot at some point and just kind of because
put all your resources into courting her.
like surely the argument can be made that there's not that much room between this and this.
I guarantee there is a line of uggos out the door just waiting for Patton Oswalt to die.
Oh my God! What did you? A line of uggos. I thought of like those boots. I thought of Uggs lined up out the door.
Exactly.
A line of uggos and Uggs.
Yeah.
Waiting for Patton.
You know exactly which mutants I'm talking about.
Oh, I am one of them. Evidently.
Oh, she's lovely though.
She is lovely, and
dream a little dream, you buddy. Dream a little dream.
Yep.
Respect
clearly judges people on what's inside, not what's outside. A lot of us, that's our only shot.
Oh man. But bless her and bless this entire cast. They really do a bang up job. The lines, the writing in this is so strong. There's so many jokes. The holding the toe. He used to be taller. There's an angry line where he's like, where he says, "I was trying to save your life," which is a good thing because that gives you more time to fuck your sister. Which is a great line. Yeah, no, this movie is full of them. This movie is wow, and that's like our third or fourth incest reference in this. This whole episode has really gone down the tubes.
Who is the real animal?
Who is the real animal? Is it really the giant crocodile? It's children.
It's the children. The children.
Children are the real animals.
Night of the Child Lepus.
All right. So, Garrett, you cool to stay, or do you have maternal duties? Because we're going to go through our final.
Nothing matters.
I'm sure your children will love seeing that in the future. Mommy, why did you say nothing matters when during the pandemic?
They're fine. I didn't feed them dinner. They fend for themselves.
Okay, nice. Well, you're out in the mountains. They just hunt elk, I assume.
So cold out there, though.
All right. Well, let's jump into this final film with our awesome guest, Mike.
Yes.
No, now you have to wave at us with that thing.
Can't even get it on camera.
All right. So our final film, and I think that this one, like, it is, as many of our films have been, they've been kind of like these movies that have influenced us. They've influenced a bunch of other films. They are films that have been influenced, but I feel like this movie has affected this country's way of thinking in a way that's much more impactful than people kind of give it credit for, and that is the classic John Carpenter's They Live, starring, and I'd be remiss if we didn't say right away, starring Hot Rod himself, Roddy Piper, the legendary Roddy Piper. Before we just dive head first into this, let's watch the preview.
Masters! What do these things want, and why are they here?
You still don't get it, do you, boy?
They have recruited the rich and the powerful.
They're running the whole show.
Wake up! They're all about you, all around you. Blinded us to the truth.
Take a look. They are safe as long as they are not discovered.
I don't know what they are or where they came from, but we gotta stop them. Stay away from me. Put these on. They have us. Look at them. They're everywhere. Our owners.
We have no other choice.
I don't like this one bit.
Leave it alone, man. It ain't none of my business. Ain't none of yours.
We have been lulled into a trance.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. We're in trouble. The whole world's in trouble. Control us! You're sending some kind of signals out of TV sets.
I've got one that can see.
Mama don't like tattletale.
Now we start spilling some blood.
Let's go!
Push a button.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
All right. Oh man, look at him.
It's signed by Roddy, but it's faded over time. But I look at this every single day.
Oh man, so
Roddy.
I think Mike. I think you probably have hot rod stories. Brass, you
I
probably
know.
do.
I never met him.
You don't. You never met him.
No.
Mike, you wanna regale us with a Roddy Piper tale?
The first one I can think of is him coming to my birthday at the Comedy Store when I was shit-faced. Steve Simone introduced him to me, and I don't think I was even speaking English because so many people had bought me drinks at that time. And I just generally remember his vibe of being like really nice, and he's an expert on people being three sheets to the wind, and so he was just real nice to me and like gave me an autograph, and I think I held it just long enough for someone to take it away from me so I wouldn't destroy it, and then I blacked out shortly after that. And the next day I was like, did I say anything stupid to him? And he was like, no, you were fine. But I got to do shows with him at a couple of improvs, and he could not have been nicer. He was just a real gentleman. But he told a story to us backstage about how he had you kind of go on the road with other wrestlers to perform in different states. And he'd gone on the road with a guy who kind of took him under his wing and nicknamed him Cocksucker. And told him, Cocksucker, you're going to pay for this meal. And he goes, you pay me? I don't have any money. And he was like, you should really pay for the meal. And they got into a big argument about it. The guy had a fucking heart attack. And so he like starts like barfing foam out of his mouth and everything. And so Roddy like grabs him and he's like, I need to get him to a hospital. And they're like, it's that way. And so he loads him into the car, starts driving, and the guy just wipes off his mouth and he goes, where are you going? And he's like, I'm getting you to the hospital. And he's like, no, we can't ever eat there again. Turn around. We got to go the other way. And that was what his life on the road was like.
Wow.
And he said that Andre the Giant loved working with him more than anyone else because he was the only one who really sold it when he got hit by him. Like, he's like, other guys would get hit and they were so macho that they would be like, see, I took a big hit from the Giant. Roddy would fly across the ring.
Right.
So, yeah, he was really cool. I mean, Keith David told me a story about this movie, which a lot of people already know, the longest fight scene in recorded history in a film between two people, him and Keith David. Keith David did not know how to fight at all. And so Roddy choreographed that entire fight scene, which has been done shot for shot in remake as the cripple fight in South Park.
Will you look at that? And South Park is in Colorado, which is where Garrett is right now. All of the connections.
That story was way better.
Go ahead.
Just a side note, because I love wrestling, but I always think of Brassy when I think of wrestling. And our Halloween costumes were supposed to be, Steven was going to be Randy Macho Man Savage.
Delightful.
And I was going to be Ric Flair.
Oh my God.
Now, because of evacuation and U.S. mail, we do not have the parts of our costume to make this happen.
And
it is going to take a Halloween miracle.
Next year.
Next year.
I want to be Jim Hardy.
Please give what you can.
I'll do my best.
So that they can have these costumes.
That's so sad.
Please.
So for me, Roddy Piper was my favorite wrestler as a kid. Like he was 100%. Like my brother was into Hulk Hogan, I was into Roddy Piper, and that worked out perfectly because then we play with the good guys and the bad guys, right? And so I get the Iron Sheik, I get the Bolsheviks, right? Like it made perfect sense. Fuji, all of the bad guys. So big Piper's Pit, Roddy Piper fan, all my childhood. Yeah. I'm working at the Comedy Store, which we've spoken before. When we talked about ghosts, we know that that place is cursed, and so you just don't know what you're hearing sometimes, and you learn to become numb to things that you hear on the side. And so I'm walking from the upstairs, which has its own curse, down to the to what used to be the phone room, which is another kind of curse. Just curses everywhere. And as I'm walking by, Steve Simone is sitting there and talking to someone, and the first two words I hear were Fuji and the Bolsheviks, and like those that's literally like the only things that I heard, and like I was just like. And I am a master of choking in front of people that I'm actually a fan of. I'm really good with people that I don't care about, like because I, like like I barely know these people's names, right? It's like you know, it's Maurice from Northern Exposure, Natty Gann, right? I'm not great with names, great with people. Like they appeared in something, but there's, you know, one time I was in an elevator with Jesse Jackson, and literally, like, I turned around and I was like, and like couldn't get out anything, tried to say, and he just smiled at me. It was, and we had like 6 floors to go after that exchange. So Elijah Wood, I can't even see him in movies anymore because of how, like, when I met him was like the peak of Lord of the Rings, and I was just like so I choke every time I see somebody that I really, really like or that I'm actually a fan of. And Hot Rod was there next to me talking on the couch, and I turned around and I'm like,
oh no.
Hi, I know you. He's like, nod. And that was the only exchange I ever had with him, other than just the awful nice nods of like, oh, there's that special lad who can't say much, right? Like other than, yeah, because he frequented the Comedy Store, and just to this day, like there's interactions that haunt me, and my interaction with Roddy Piper is definitely like one of them. Wonderful human, really sweet man. Like each time, like I almost felt like him wanting to pat me on the back in a sad way every time I saw him after that. But
he's Canadian.
Yes, Canadian. Yes.
Golden Gloves champion.
There you go. Which explains that fight scene, Mike, that you were talking about. So yeah, I mean,
look at all the ketchup.
That's him forcing Keith David to wear the glasses that let you see the aliens' true faces and agenda.
So let's talk about the aliens' true faces and agenda. So also let's also talk about the font, right? Obey, like Shepherd Fairy, Obey Giant, like all of that stuff. Andre the Giant, like the whole thing really comes in heavy for people our age. Yeah. But this idea that we're being controlled by media, that you can be a special person that sees things, and that those things will tell you who is one of us and who is one of them. The cultural concept behind that, I think, spoke to the U.S. in a way that we may never recover. I mean, this movie touched... Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you look at his character, and he was on the fringe, and that's a common theme with John Carpenter. Of the lead character is always kind of outside of society, and kind of doing their own thing. And that makes them ideal for the situation, and in this case, he was very much not a part of everyday 9-to-5 wife and kid society, and all of the people that were in the resistance were all people that were homeless pretty much, and drifters of different kinds, And
what's the name of the character?
I don't recall right now.
Nada. N-A-D,
yeah, John
Nada.
Yeah, and it just added a layer to the story to have that, and to make the characters the people that, even if they're 100% right, no one's listening to. That adds a lot to this particular story, I think.
Well, 1 week away from an election,
yeah,
I think it bears pointing out that a lot of conspiracies, a lot of folks that are talking about like them versus us, they're talking about mind control, they're talking about eating children, there's a lot of stuff going out there. And I feel like this movie sort of is from a cultural standpoint, like really, really tells us kind of what, not necessarily what will be, but what people will think of what is happening, right? Like, I do not believe, if there's one thing that Brass, you and I have talked about this a million times, but if there's one thing we know is that nobody has their shit together. Absolutely nobody on this planet has their shit together. And so nobody has their shit together enough to pull off something like this. It has to be aliens, because humans are incapable of actually hiding among us and doing something secretively.
We're still mad about incest down here. We're not able to pull that off. We're still fumbling with our sisters.
But I think we learned from this movie how to get closer to that. We have QR codes now.
Yeah.
You know?
It's how we get our menus.
That same, yeah. But yeah, so here's is that John Carpenter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I God knows I didn't want to spoil that by getting that wrong. But yeah, so there's John Carpenter with his and it's amazing to me because John Carpenter, I feel, does a lot of pretty immature Groundhog Day, does a lot of pretty immature movies. And I feel like this one is one of his most mature, and one of his like it resonated the most. It has one of those staying powers that like goes above and beyond your average spooky movie.
Right.
So
yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Anything else we want to say about They Live, about Garrett, about this experience? Garrett, thank you so much, by the way, for tuning in to all of these. You were and are our number one fan, and which is amazing.
I really am. I have laughed so hard, and it's so great to see your faces. It's really been a joy, and I know that you guys do this with Dingman, and I look forward to watching those too. But I love you all so much. You know this. But thanks so much. It's fun to see your faces.
All right, Garrett, we're gonna let you go, and we're gonna close this out. Love you, love to your family, and love to everybody in Colorado.
And your bulldog.
Oh, she left on her own.
Oh.
Well, I mean, she probably had things to do.
Yeah. She's busy.
You were laying the hinting on pretty thick. It's time for you to go.
She's going.
All right. Speaking of time for us to go, it's time for us to go. And I didn't bring anything as kind of like our final thing. I think we're just going to go out with our theme, and let's talk about how we might continue this and what other stuff we might bring into these conversations. But we'll be back, Brass, soon. Next week is the election, and that means Dingman will be back with the History Happy Hour. And so we'll be talking more history and talking about elections, I'm pretty sure. Don't stress the election, Brass. I see your furrowed brow. Seriously.
I'm cooking up a final statement in my head, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. I'm actually deep down, I'm still stressed. I'm stressed about where I live. Mike, I don't know if you feel safe where you are, but I don't feel entirely cool where I am.
I don't know anyone who feels safe in LA right now.
I don't know. But we're not on fire, so maybe.
Right. I know you're not being evacuated because your house is on fire.
Right.
Well, and I know that the real world is scary right now, and I know that there's stuff out there. I think there's reasons to have hope. And so let's just stick to those. What I've told my the people that I'm working with right now is that the best thing to do is just kind of keep your head down, do what you can to make sure that things that you want to see happen, and then just sort of sit back and see what unfolds and be a positive part of all of that. But this was fun. I hope we can do this again.
Yeah.
Let's stick a pin in that. And we're gonna go out to. I don't feel like the Hammer House of Horror theme will make sense after this, so we're gonna retire our theme. So we're just gonna go out on that. But it was good seeing you guys,
Thank you
and
so much.
we'll be in touch. Bye,
Yes.
guys.
Bye, Al. Bye, Mike.